everybody, and welcome back to Too Many Cooks SMP. And as you saw in that opening montage, and what you can see behind me here, I have been busy making a wheat farm for the industrial district. 2 episodes ago, I made the entrance to the industrial district, and last episode, I spent all my time working on map arts, and during that time, Napstaffer, or Holland, as we know him, has been very busy over in this area. He's built a few things already in the time since we've been here in video, and I've been feeling a little bit inadequate. I felt like I needed to contribute something to the industrial district, and so I decided to start with a wheat farm. Now, I don't have any specific particular use for wheat right now, other than that the roads in this district are going to be largely made of packed mud and mud bricks. But you can never have enough wheat, both for myself and for everybody else on the server. So, in a way, this is meant to kind of be a little bit of a community contribution. The thing about it is that I had not really realized that wheat farms, at least on a large scale, are more complicated than I thought they would be. So how about I go free cam here for a second and show you guys how exactly this thing works. So what we've got here is 18 modules. Each one has one farmer villager inside. I filled their inventory with seeds so that they can't pick anything else up. And then once they took the job of farmer off of this composter block, I made it so that they could not reach it here. And they are able to farm the crops, and as they do, the hoppers underneath pick them up, and it goes through an item filter that spits the seeds back out and takes the wheat. And then the wheat goes into this chest, which goes into this dropper that automatically shoots out with this clock that's attached to it here. And when the items shoot out of the dropper, they hit these cobwebs, which cause the items to lose all momentum. And then they just drop into the water stream below, which pushes them down into another item filter, because there are still some seeds that end up slipping through. So I set up a fail-safe so that when everything gets down here, the wheat goes into an auto-crafter to craft them into hay bales, to condense it for storage. And then they shoot out of here into this bubble column, go up and over into the bulk storage, where we have lots of hay. There were a lot of aspects to this that I didn't fully understand at first, or didn't know, and I had to learn a lot along the way, particularly with villager AI. If there's only one villager hater left in the world, it's me. Villagers have their uses. They are important to the game, but also they are maybe one of my least favorite things in the game to deal with. But we needed them for this farm in order for the wheat to passively generate, without it having to be manually harvested. I spent a fair amount of time making sure that this farm was working properly. Not only just because, in general, farms are better when they work, but also because I'm going to be covering this all up in the outer facade, or decoration. And the inspiration for the aesthetic of this build is actually a real flour mill called Gold Medal Flour in Minnesota. Now, it's not going to be exactly like that, but we're taking a lot of cues from it aesthetically. Basically, all these modules are going to be in these giant silos, and then there will be other building structures added on to the sides and top of it. And I'm so glad that this thing is working now, because this is the part that I have been looking forward to. This is the part that I am excited about. It's also a type of build that I don't think I've really attempted before. So, I'm excited to get started. I think it's time that we do some building. Shall we? I think we shall. To get started, the first thing I need to do is basically just to surround these pillars with at least the base block which I think is going to be bone blocks, and then go back over it and texture it with whitish to yellowish colors, mixed in with, I think, some brown and maybe even in some spots orange and red. For now, I want the main color of this building to be a more sort of washed out yellow or off-white. So let's make the pillars around the farm here. And while I do this, I think I'm gonna be a little bit open with you guys for a second here and let you in a little bit on, I guess, where I'm at currently. After my last couple of projects, particularly the ones that I did in my last episode, I decided that this year I really want to focus more on some more smaller scale, purely creative projects. I mean, everything's creative, but sometimes once you get to a certain scale, it just becomes a repetitive task that is more just getting the work done than being in the creative process, which is where I prefer to be more often than not. I like when I am actively making creative decisions as I go, because that, to me, is the most exciting and fun thing about playing Minecraft. And when I say smaller projects, I don't mean that I'm not going to be working on my mega projects like the biome project, but I do think that I'm going to try and make a concerted effort to separate things into smaller, more manageable, bite-sized chunks that will also allow me to just focus creatively on that one specific smaller part of a project, kind of one at a time. And hopefully that will make it feel a little bit less like a grind and keep the creative spark alive more frequently so that I don't lose motivation. But if my heart isn't in it, I know that I will inevitably end up making something that's not up to my own standards. Staying creatively motivated is important to me, and I guess this year I just really want to try my best to play in a way that facilitates that as much as possible. Hopefully I can find my inspiration and you can find yours, whatever that may be, whether it's in Minecraft or it's in any other artistic medium. And I know that maybe sometimes it probably sounds a little bit pretentious to call it art, but it is art. I think any form of creation involving self-expression of some kind is art. I have had many different times over the years talking to different people that I know who have said some version of the phrase, I'm just not that creative of a person, or I'm not a creative person. And I think that this is a great time for me to bring that up, because my hot take is that I just simply don't believe that is true. There are so many amazing things that humans have done and created that are all different amazing forms of creativity. A lot of people see people who are great at things like illustrative art, like drawing and painting, or making music and things like that. And then they think that that is the only thing that can be considered creative or a creative field. And I'm here to tell you that you are only doing yourself a disservice by basically lying to yourself, telling yourself that you aren't creative, because you are. Now, what form that takes can be different for everyone. Like, I will use my friend Kubi as an example. He likes to build things that are just cool for the sake of it, like I do. But he also is a much more, let's say, redstone tech-savvy guy. He is always curious and interested in the possibility of if something can be done, or learning how it can be done. and trying to find his own way to do it. And I think that that is a form of creativity, even if it almost seems like it's a more just technical thing. It takes a form of creative thinking, and it's very different from how my brain works, but it's equally as valid. And I think that that's awesome. Even within the game of Minecraft, you can be creative in so many different ways. And in just life in general, there are an insane amount of ways that people are creative. So basically, all I'm trying to say here is, if you are someone who has had a similar thought like that before, or has said something like that about yourself, I'm just here to tell you, don't sell yourself short. You can do anything that you set your mind to. And it might not always be pretty right away. And you'll make mistakes. You'll make things that you will look back on and think aren't that great anymore. But that just means that you've grown and changed. And that's a good thing. Anyways, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Because I think that it's a message that more people need to hear. Anyways, back to the bones. Okay, so there we go. We just have a big old covering of bone around this farm right now. And I did leave this spot open because you'll notice some of this comes out here a little bit. And that's okay because we're going to have a building structure on this front side of it here. I guess this is kind of the front since it's right next to the entrance to the area. But I'm going to have a building structure right here that will be the place that you go into to basically access the stuff that the farm produces. But yeah, this is just the canvas. We're going to be texturing and adding a bunch more blocks and color and variation to this to make it look old and worn by the weather and time. But I think before we do that, I think building the building that is going to go in this spot right here will be a good next thing to do. I've really found that I like this method that I've adopted since I did the cathedral of basically putting down the base of what the building is going to be shape-wise and then going back over it and adding all the details. It really helps me visualize what the building is ultimately supposed to be while being able to figuring out what else needs to be added to it. So let's add this part of it to it right now. Okay, I think that we've got something working here. I think that we are figuring this out. There's still a blank wall back here, and I think I'm gonna add some outside details to it. But I'm leaning into the white, gray, and yellow. I think some more colors will probably make their way in on the larger structure overall, but for this little building here, I think I'm liking the look that we've got going here. And I came up with the idea as I was building it to have a bay door here that vehicles would be coming in to basically back in and drop off or pick up shipments. And I may even want to make some kind of vehicle. Maybe not inside here because it might get a little bit cramped, but maybe just outside here I might have a vehicle. I haven't really built vehicles before, but I think I might want to try. It would be a fun challenge to try and take on. I decided also to keep a viewing window here because I do think that the inner workings of the farm are kind of cool in a way. And you can look in and kind of see everything working and see how it works. But I still need to put a roof on this thing. I think keeping with the yellowish color palette is probably a good idea. Let's make a roof. you guys. I've been working on this, been doing some stuff, but I gotta pause for a moment because this guy just showed up in this building, and look at the trade that he has. If only I could keep you forever. I would make you live here. Well, would you like some wheat, sir? Here, have some. I have more if you still want it. Anyways, though, I think that this is probably a good time for me to check in with you guys. I've been having some issues with my flashback mod. Maybe it's the way that it is interacting with Voxy, which is a mod that I've been using lately. I guess I haven't really mentioned it yet. Let me go up here real quick. I posted a TikTok about this, but look at the view that I have. I can see almost every major landmark in our world, which kind of does put into perspective that our world is actually not really that big. Or at least all of the major things that we've built are not really all that far apart from each other for the most part. We can see the Witch Abyss. We can see my biome project. We can see Clone's build over there that we visited a couple episodes ago. And of course over there is the World Spawn server logo build that I did last episode. It's basically a rendering mod that loads a low poly version of everything off in the distance so that I can see great distances. I think that it may be conflicting with my flashback mod because when I try and do time lapses, sometimes it doesn't always render in properly. So I may have had to skip past some things, but I'm trying to keep you guys updated here. I've been starting to blend the land around the building with the road in such a way that the road is still definitely well defined as the road, but it kind of blends together more naturally. And I'm starting to gradually change the land that's up against the river and the building here to be more coarse dirt and things like that as well. Because that's just kind of the grungy look that I want this build to have. I also, maybe not this episode, but I'm going to be putting, I think, another building structure on top of this that hopefully will be able to house a more efficient mud farm. Because with the wheat farm here, it would be nice to also have a relatively efficient mud farm to go along with it. I did another cool little thing here, though, that you guys might appreciate. So here is the recycling bin. What happens, oftentimes, you'll take some wheat, or some hay, you convert it into wheat, and then you combine it with your mud, which I don't have right now, but you'll often end up having a little bit of wheat left over. And then you're like, well, I've got just a small enough amount of wheat that I can't really do anything with it, and I don't really want to hold on to it right now. Well, if you just go around the corner here, you can just toss it in the recycling bin. If you can, throw it properly. And it just automatically feeds back in to the auto crafter. Yeah. The next detail area that I want to focus on before I really get into the weeds on texturing the pillars themselves. I want to put, I think, some sort of ladder or fire escape type deal on the back here, because there will be a building on top, and so there should be a safe way to get up and down without needing wings. I think we're going to use a little bit of copper here. We have a decent supply. I mean, not a lot, but I think hopefully enough to get the job done. And then, of course, we also have more orange to red blocks. Maybe around it, we might add some rust to the walls. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do just a little bit more landscaping work over on this side, and then we'll hop right over to that side of the building now. Alright, you guys. Project Part 1 finished. And I guess it's not really Part 1. This is the majority of it. But, like I said earlier, we're going to be putting another structure on top of this here for the mud farm. And I know that we've already spent a lot of time here this episode, but I don't want to take too long to get that mud farm running. So you'll probably see that and maybe something else next episode. Maybe getting back to a project we haven't been to in a little while. Just the one project for today. And I hope that you guys enjoyed going through the process with me. I will admit that I took a little bit longer on this project than I maybe otherwise would because I was taking a little bit of a break from Minecraft for a bit, and obviously I also ran into some obstacles along the way, but I think that what we have here is pretty cool. And I think it's turned out pretty good. And I'm feeling motivated. And I hope that you guys will come back here next time to continue seeing the shenanigans on the Too Many Cooks SMP. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Be kind to yourselves and each other. And don't forget, I love your face.